Amen. So I really don't need to share the outline. We're going to talk today about media, and when we say media, we mean scores in whichever notation, typically in PDF document form, and also audio recordings, typically in MP3 or MP3 or whatever is the current iteration of that, whatever can be played. I will share the DCS. So Michael, if you want to give me share, do I have it? Thank you. So we're looking at the DCS, and we will go to a Sunday. We will go to beginning. So we won't talk a lot about how the DCS works at this time, but what we're talking about is that there are these links in both languages that link to audio. That's the audio symbol. Scores in staff notation, which is the little notes there, and scores in Byzantine notation, which is the Byzantine symbol. And in all cases, we click and there's a drop down and it gives whatever media is available in whichever. So somehow, if we look here, if you look down at the bottom, I don't know if you can see it, but the URL for that piece of media, in other words, for that thing to come up, it's in the HTML, and it has to be put in there somehow. That HTML, that URL is somewhere in our library, and during the deployment of the website and the generation of the HTML document, that URL and the link are inserted. So what we're going to talk about today is how each piece of media is assigned a URL and all this other information that goes with this dropdown, and we won't focus too much on how the dropdown happens because that's part of the JavaScript and the other stuff that happens.
Father, can I mention that our practice, that would be your practice, and the recommended practice is that the actual media files aren't stored in the same paths, if you will, of the generated website, but they're separate from it. They could even be on a completely different server. So for example, right now in Voxa, when you generate a service and have these links, it's actually pointing to the media stored on the Greek, the GOA website. So the media isn't even stored locally at that point, but it can be stored anywhere. But you want to keep it distinct from the generated website itself.
So to get an idea of what that is, I'm going to share a view of, so here's FileZilla. Do you see that? And I'm going to go to the okay, so here's on the right side of the FileZilla window is the server where these things are, and this is the Archdiocese server. So this GOA is the actual DCS, is the website of the DCS, and M is the media folder. So they happen to be on the same server, but they're not. It's not embedded in the website. So all websites and the Spanish DCS, well, you won't need it because it's in Spanish, but anyway, anyone who's pointing to any media currently is pointing to this location, and the A is the audio files of that. Michael, do you have anything to clarify in that?
No, but of course it's everyone building a digital chant stand will have to decide where their media will reside. And like Jesse for the Spanish one, when you display the English or the Greek, you can use URLs in your media specification that point back to the GOA site for the English and Greek if you choose, and have the Spanish stored, wherever that's going to wind up. Actually, here's a question, Michael? Father. What do you think about, if the idea is eventually GOA will have Spanish too, I wonder about storing the Spanish media from the start there. I don't know what you think about that, but it's just a thought.
Sure. It's not, I don't think it's a storage, space issue. I don't think that's an issue. On the other hand, when we, years ago, we had talked about there may be media that this isn't the case now in the DCS with the Archdiocese, but under ages, we had considered that there might be some contributors or providers of musical scores that had stipulations like, there was a paywall or something. In which case they would have their media wherever they wanted to, and then however that happened. So we're going to look now at the program and see that really you can put any URL you want, and it'll make its way into the HTML. So the strategy or whatever the protocols of where to store it, that's something that can be discussed. But as far as what we're going to look at today, it's a secondary issue right now.
Yeah, and I just might mention that cloud hosting services often have media servers where their role is strictly to serve up media files. And many of the companies actually have server farms distributed around the world, and will actually redirect people to the one closest to them in their region so that it'll load faster.
Interesting. So that they have copies, not that ours is anything huge, but
there
would be a copy.
They copy.
Really? On all their servers? Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
That would be important, really, in our context, where there might be a lot of people accessing these on lower bandwidth connections.
And does that make a difference how far it has to go?
Certainly
I guess I'm not sure where the nearest server, would that make a big difference based on the bandwidth?
It does, and it would vary from provider to provider.
Okay. All right. Good to know. All right. So now I'm going to share the screen and we'll look at the ALWB. Currently, there's a project that always was a project. It was the scores, the media. It used to be under version control. It used to be on GitHub. It's there, but I've taken it. It's been out of version control for years. But Michael, you are recommending that we put it back under version control because there's more, you can leverage it better that way. So when we do, when we're ready for that, we'll put it on GitLab or wherever the libraries will be, or is that correct?
Well, yeah, it could be anywhere, but for Voxa, we are recommending, in some cases, some parts of Voxa, the files we're requiring it's on GitLab. And with media, I'd say I'd recommend you just keep it in the same place.
Okay. All right, so as you see in this project, we're going to look at the M folder right now, which is the media itself. So here's the library of scores, meaning scores in staff notation, scores in Byzantine notation. in Greek and in English. So they are organized currently by provider, by the person who produced the score and gave it to us. We'll look at deities. That's the ones I've done. And then it's divided by language. And then it's divided by the books, the things, the other things that we've talked about: Oktoikos, Mineon, Orologion, Irmologion, Evkologion, Elthina, daily things, Triodion, Psalms, Penicostarion, and other. Let's take a look at the Oktoikos. So the Oktoikos, much like the books, are divided by mode, the 8 modes, and then the TR are some Triodion material. So we'll look at mode 1. Then it's divided by day, much like the libraries are. If we go into day 1, which is Sunday, it's divided by services. So now they're divided kind of like how the templates are divided. And we have Byzantine, we have B stands for Byzantine, W stands for Western, and I don't know when and why those scores were called Western notation. It's called staff notation, but anyways, we also call it Western as opposed to Byzantine. And T stands for some text things that we'll look at maybe. So if we go into we are now in the Oktoikos mode 1, Saturday evening, because it's Vespers. And so then here are the actual PDF files of, here's Lord, I Have Cried. You won't see it because it's another share, but that's the score of Lord, I Have Cried. This is the score of Let My Prayer. The Stichira of Vespers, whatever scores there are, okay? And all of these, if there's a score here, if there's a file here, it means that it's registered in the ALWB. And that we're going to look at how it's registered. And then Michael can comment as far as what that's going to mean in Doxa. So I'm going to open what's called.
But Father, could you go back to where you were?
Yes.
And so click on a file again and show again, if you note, so you can see the path to it. There, you see the path at the bottom.
Oh yeah, at the bottom, yeah.
Yeah, the part of that path, and Father, you can comment where it starts. That's going to be used in the media specification in the software, right?
Yeah, the M, starting with M.
Yeah. So it's important that you know that path to the actual file when you're setting it up. And the specifying it in your case, it's not an
medium
Aries file. It's an
Aries file.
It is an Aries file, yeah.
I mean, it's a media, we would call the media maps.
Right.
Yeah, but it happens to be an Aries file, but that's how we function. So I'm going to open that. So this is a media English US public. And it lives in the templates project, as you can see here. Templates project has a folder called media maps. So there's a media map for public, which means all the different English for us, and for the GOA, it means all the English contributors. Here's media GR, so that means media scores whose lyrics, whose text is the COG, is the Greek, text. And these other ones don't pay attention to. Okay, so we have two. There's the native language and then the Greek. And each language, if you're going to have 3 columns, and one column is Greek, then you have the Greek media map. And then you have language 2. If that's for us, it's public. And then if there's a language 3, it would have to have its own media map named, correctly. So all of these lines here, we don't have to worry about it. That's Michael's magic. Okay. Let's not dwell on that. Very quickly, we'll go back, but very quickly, we'll go to what we're seeing, octoechos. All right. Here's the list of scores in deities, octoechos, mode 1, day 1, vespers, and whatever. Okay. Here, the media map is organized by book. Well, let's just say we have to register every score. So let's find this sticker out 1. Sticker out 1. Let us find it here. Sticker out 1 is here. So those 4 lines are the will produce links, will produce the English, Western notation, and Byzantine notation for sticker out 1. How do we know that? So, in this media map, we have to declare the book, and then drill down, the mode, the day, the key name that's in the, in the Aries file, that much. That looks familiar, doesn't it? Was that the okay, so if we look at the URL, we see OC, M1, D1, and then VE, because it's that now that's our organization. That's how we made our file, our folder structure in the media folder. You can call those things whatever you want, but you notice that we have structured the folders to be much like the identity, of the key. So,
Father, may I mention it's that this part here, it isn't simply like there has to be a specific corresponding Aries topic and domain that matches that with its content. That's how we marry up what media maps to what actual text of a hymn
Correct.
text.
Correct. So this line here has to be, this is the name of the Aries file, for example, or it's the identity of the key that it's related to. So OC M1 D1. All right, here's OC M1 D1. That's the file, right? And then the key name, OCVE sticker out 1. OCVE sticker out 1, exactly that, right? And, okay, so that gets us, since it's public, that gets us to the public file of the octoechos and this key, and now it's tied to the text of that key. So when we encounter the value of this key in a HTML file, it will have above it the links to this hymn, which is "Accept Our Evening Prayers, O Holy Lord." So it happens to be, the Holy Cross version of it. that can change, that, you know, whatever it is. All right, so far, are there any questions? Okay, so there is identity between the media map. There's a connection between the media map and the file, the Aries file, the library file that has the actual text that is the lyrics of the score being used. Now, it just so happens that people give us scores that aren't the text that's being used on the DCS. In other words, and we were hesitant to do that. We don't want to do that. And we would only do that if there is actually a score that does use the DCS text. And then we might provide other scores from other composers, just as kind of, you know, it's a resource, a way to link to it, but they don't match as far as the score. So we have to be able to distinguish which ones are the ones that are in the public DCS and which ones have a text that is not the one that is published. And that's what how we've devised this number here. So C in this line, C stands for composition. And then we're allowed to give any kind of number, as many. We thought originally we could only do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but as a matter of fact, it'll take, you know, any string of numbers. I don't know, does it take letters as well? It might. So we devise a system where it's 4 digits, and the first digit, if it's 1, it means it is the one that is on the digital chant stand. If it were someone provided us a text that was like Father Ephraim Lash's version of this hymn, and that's not what we were posting on the DCS, this 1 would be 2. So 1, it's a system we created where here we go. Contributors IDs. 1 stands, that's public here. 2 means it's not public. Do you understand that? This isn't essential, but I mean, it's how the information that you see. Okay.
Well, what do you mean by public, Father? I mean, is it that can you explain in what sense do you mean public when you say it here?
That it is, so in the public library, we link up a variety of texts, right? So we couldn't say it's all, you know, it either is the one that we're publishing or it's not the one that we're publishing. So that's what we mean by it is the one that's associated with this public file, which could be some Holy Cross, some deities, some whatever, you know, but it's what shows up on the DCS. So 1 means yes, 2 means no.
And to clarify, then it's not public versus private. It's public in the sense that it's a key that's in the ENUS public mapping. Correct. There. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And 2 means it's not the text that is being published in the DCS. And then the next 2 digits.
Sorry, when it says it's not public, would that mean that it would not appear on the public DCS website?
So on the, I'll show you. All right. So we're at a Vesper service. All right. Notice how this says C1211.
Right.
That 1 means that the text of this text is the text on the score.
Mhm.
Lord, I do not desist. Lord, I do not desist. All right. Now, sometimes we have 2 or 3 things hanging down here in the list, in the drop down. Let us say that someone also provided us, let's say someone provided us with scores of this hymn or any other hymn that uses someone else's English translation. The same hymn, but it's not the translation that we use. But they've put it to music. And for whatever reason, we said, sure, we will post, we'll post your stuff. You know what it is? For example, oftentimes I think I can get it. We'll go on a Sunday. Okay, here's a perfect example. In this case, we have the hymn, the Apolitikon in Plagal first, right? And the text is, let us worship the word. Okay, do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. We click on the score. We have 2 options. The first one says composition 1211, and then it has the name of the composer, Dides. It has another one, 2261, and the composer or contributor is Thyatira, and that's the archdiocese in Great Britain. And they had asked us when we were ages if, even though we were not posting Father Ephraim Lash's texts as our preferred English translation, could we please connect their scores so that their chanters can, easily find the scores, of the hymn. So if I were to click on the first one, it brings up my score, which the words of this correspond to the words in the HTML file. If I were to click on the other one, these words, let us believers praise and worship the word. Okay, that's not what the text says on the HTML. Do you see that?
So, Father, a different way of stating it then would be that if it's a 1, the text of the score matches the text displayed immediately below the media icon. And if it's a 2, it does not match it.
Correct.
Okay.
Do you understand that, Jesse?
Yes, I do understand that.
Okay.
I have a follow-up question whenever there's a good moment.
Go ahead.
Well, so I was just wondering, so I definitely understand the difference, but what would happen if, for some reason, the GOA decided to start using Father Ephraim Lash's translations? What changes would you have to make? Would you change the numbering so that his began with a 1? You would go in and change those things around.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that complicated? Like, would that involve a number of places within Ages or Doxa where there are
only in the media map? Only, I'd go here, and where it says 1211, I would make it 2, and the other I would just type in 2, and the other one from 2 I would make it 1. That's the only.
Okay.
Yeah,
I might mention that the numbering scheme that Father Seraphim uses, the software doesn't make use of that. It could care less whether it's a 1 or 2. It's just an internal scheme that Father Seraphim has devised for understanding and maybe conveying to other people. I don't know, but as far as the software is concerned, it doesn't care.
Doesn't care. So as a singer, when I'm in church and I'm a singer and I click, I have a choice. Do I want the D's score, or do I want someone else's score? But the other person's score, I don't think anybody knows our coding system. So I mean, I don't know that they know that one means, public and two means not public. Okay. So, but that's what it would tell them is that, well, if you select this other one, it's going to not correspond. It's not the text that the GOA is using now or whatever it is. Okay. Yes.
Mhm.
So
Well,
I
yeah, I
just
mean,
realized what the software does is it displays them in the sort order of that entire code.
Right. So if we had put 0 for no, it would have gone above, but we wanted the first
Yeah.
ones, to be 1.
Yeah, on a basic level, even if somebody doesn't know the coding, it just makes sense so that they can more quickly be drawn to the right recording. And
Right.
This is probably going to be relevant in the kind of more developing chanting areas in the world,
Mhm.
like here in the metropolis of Mexico. All of the church texts are really in flux, and over time we might end up changing which versions are used for any given hymn. But we have a lot. For some hymns, we have a lot of different options. So I'm planning to include different recordings. If we have a few different people that send me recordings for a hymn, I'm planning to include them. But it's helpful to know the difference in the coding so that over time, as we sort out
Mhm.
what the metropolis would prefer to use, I can make sure that it's updated correctly.
Sure. And so we'll go back to my system, but you can use that section between the two. Let's go back to. So in the Medium app,
Mhm.
this, C between those two periods, you can, I don't know if, can we, after C for composition, I don't know, Michael, does it accept letters or only digits?
I don't think that the software cares.
Here.
I mean, they could
Okay.
probably be letters, but I mean, it's
Right,
just
right,
the
right.
way. I think originally what we thought is it was just an arbitrary composition number as the identifier, but then you decided that you wanted the digits to have their own meaning.
Right.
And so you
Yeah.
developed a code imposed upon that string. But
Right.
as far as the software goes, it could be letters.
Right. So the software then will make it appear in the drop-down menu. Whatever's there, C1241, that's what appears in the drop-down. So if we put C, Bishop Neophytos or whatever, I mean, that's what would drop down or whatever. I don't even know that we need to put C. I'm not sure. The C
Yeah, I
stands for
can't
composite.
remember. Yeah.
It may parse it to see if, but anyway. So let's go back to the code now up here. So my code, and that's my code, the way I devised the 1, we talked about the 1 and the 2. The next 2 digits are the code of the translator. Okay. And it may or may not be in public, but we have so many in public, we have so many different translators contributing that it's nice to somewhere indicate that, whose text is it, as well as in other places. So the score, so that's why here in English, I have all of these English texts. So if it's, let's say that the text is the Didi's translation, then the next 2 digits would be 2-1. Okay. Another popular contributor from a long time ago was George Duval, so his code is 2-2. If it's a text from the GOA and their publications, it's 2-3. Holy Cross, which doesn't produce liturgical translations anymore, are 2-4. Ephraim Lash, 25, and so forth. Okay, every unique contributor. And so in your case, Jesse, if you have in your translations and then the Father Juvenale's translations and whoever, if you have 5 different people translating, you could potentially have a 2-digit code, or it could be letters or a picture. I don't know if you can put it in image, but you can say who the actual translator is, and so then that's what the second 2 digits are in the code. And then the fourth digit is the composition number itself of that, all other things being the same. So if it were 1, 2, 1, so it's 1, it is public, 2, 1, it's Didi's, and then 1. So 1, 2, 1, 1, and there's going to be a lot of things here. That's 1, 2, 1, 1.
So with your numbering scheme, since there's only one digit for the composition number, that would limit it to 5 in the drop down. Is that right?
9.
I meant
10,
9. I said 5 and I meant
Yeah.
9. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, but the difference is this. As long as the C number is a unique number. So for example, let's take a look here at this particular block here. It's a communion hymn for Wednesday. And so we have 1, 1, 1, 1. So 1 means public. 1, 1, I think means RSV. Okay, it might be RSV or it might be, let's see, 1, 1 is SAAS. Okay, that's the St. Athanasius Septuagint. All right, so the text is from the Orthodox Study Bible and it's composition 1. Right, but here we have another one, different, and it's again, it's 1, it's 1, 1, but it's a different score, happens to be in mode 4. It's a different mode, it's a different composition, but it's the same text and the same, everything else is the same. So, and then we have a 1, 1, 1, 3, and it's described here what's different about it. It's Richard Barrett, mode 4, but it's the same text. So everything else it is public, it is Orthodox Study Bible, but it's the third of however many. It's the fourth of 9. It's the fourth. That's how that works. Here is an example of same hymn. It's the communion hymn for Wednesday, but it's 2, means it's not the public. 00 stands for composer's text. So whoever the composer was, it's their text. It's not one of our recognized suppliers. It's not OCA, it's not Holy Cross. So we just devised that 00 means it's a proprietary to the composer. And that's great. And the new biz, that's Stan and Nancy Takis, and they've asked us, to attach their scores as well. I don't know how long that's going. I don't know how long the Archdiocese is going to want that, but we've much like Thyatira, we have ages did that for Stan and Nancy Takis. But it's clear that it's not public, and it's not even the text that all the other ones use, which is 1, 1, and so forth. Now, any questions so far as as that? Okay. Then next in the let's get back to our Stichira 1 that we were at. All right. So here, now we can understand this. All right, this takes us to the key in the Aries file. Okay, this takes us this far, right? This 1 means it's public. 2, 4 in our coding system means Holy Cross. Yeah, that aligns with Holy Cross happened to be the text that we had, so it made its way into public. That will change after Easter because I'm doing new translations, and then the numbers and stuff will change here. And it's the first composition. There's no second, third. I mean, if we had more, if someone else also did based on the Holy Cross translation, also did another way of composing the music, it would be number 2 or number 3 or number 4, whatever. The next item is in the media map is to indicate whether it's a score or audio. So if it's a score, it says score. If it's audio, it would say, like up here, just A and the number of it. It doesn't have other information. Currently, this is how it works. A for audio, 1 for which one of all of them it is. And then in the scores, we have to indicate whether it's Western or Byzantine, and that will trigger the program to give it either the icon for staff notation or the icon for Byzantine notation. That's what that does. And that's what the A does here is it tells the program to create the audio icon to click on. Okay. All that has to be somehow, the program has to know somewhere those instructions have to be given. And here's where we give those instructions. Link this to this hymn, above this hymn, with a icon for Byzantine music. Link it with an icon for staff notation, or link this piece of media that we're going to point to with the audio icon. Does that make sense so far?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then, so currently in the media map, it takes 2 lines to register a piece of media, whether it's a score or audio. It used to be 5. I think we used to, when we first started out, we included a whole bunch of information and other things about the score, and there were 5 lines. They were almost like properties of the score or whatever, but it made the media map so big that we decided, I mean, it was like unwieldy big, that it would like hang. You couldn't even like scroll. It was just, I mean, already we're 3/5 of the way down, and we're at line 15,000. Okay, 15,000 lines. In this, there's more. So Michael and I got together, and we decided we could manage with just 2 lines. One that gives information about the score, and the other line gives the URL of the score. Okay, so that's what we have here. This line, it told us which key. Okay, it told us which text. It told us what kind of media it is. It's a score. It defined the score as Western and also the icon. And then now the last property is the arranger. In other words, who actually typed out, who gave us the score. And the arranger, it used to be, we had 2. There was composer and arranger as 2 different things. So it depends how you want to, whatever you want to mean by that. We've used like for down here, and this one down here, for example, this means that Father Seraphim composed it. I mean, in other words, I said, let's sing it this way. Okay. And it means that Gabriel Permines actually typed out the score. Okay. He didn't make up the music. He simply typed it out, and he provided the score. That's how we organized it here. You can put all kinds of information that you can spell out, but can contain the information, all that special information of who, that says my internet connection is unstable. I don't know why. Okay. The score itself can provide information like the date, copyright information, all that can be on the PDF file itself. So it doesn't have to be here in the registering of the media. So we left that out.
Father.
But
But
Father
what?
Sarah,
Yep.
I'm sorry to to break up the flow, could you just remind me again? So before arranger or URL path, there is BTW, and that's Byzantine something and Western, right?
Right.
I don't know. What is the T again?
T means text, and I'll get to that in a minute.
Oh, okay, okay.
So
And so is it just arranger or URL dot path, or are there other URL dot something else?
There used to be, but now it's just arranger and URL path. If it's audio, it's singer.
Okay.
It's singer and URL path. For audio,
Oh, I see.
it's singer and then the URL. Okay.
so Father,
That's how
if I
it is
can,
now. That could, yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
So another way to look at the way we evolve the meaning of arranger is now it's probably better to think of it as you're just specifying the text that's going to display in the drop down from the media link in the generated site. And in fact, in Voxa, this is all, it's been renamed to link.info. That's the part that'll display, and the link.path.
Gotcha. That's good. Because arranger, yeah, it doesn't have to be the arranger. It's just the information in words that's going to be it. So that number, that code number, that C whatever, that will appear. Although we may decide not to use that
No, it
anymore.
does. It still does.
It does. Okay.
Because it controls the sort order.
That's right. And then next to it, there'll be a dash, and next to it will be whatever info, which may be whatever info you want to put. We got this from the Antiochian Archdiocese, or we got this from so-and-so set the score, or nothing. Or maybe you don't want to put anything else. So it's basically a string where it says arranger. It provides a string to appear. This is what's going to appear in the drop down when you click on the icon. And for the time being, we've used it for composer and arrange. Like that. Okay, that's for that. And then we get to the second line of the key, and that's the actual URL. So here's the path. Path equals, and notice it starts with the M folder. And then everything that we looked at, over here. So it's M on the left. You see M, and then DDs, and then English, EN, OC, M1, D1, VE, W, and then the actual name of the PDF file. Okay.
So
there's the path.
Father,
yes.
Sorry, I keep interrupting. To put it a different way, this is the path relative to the server that it's on. And in both ALWB and I don't know if in ALWB, but certainly in Voxa, it's a property that you say what the domain name and path is to reach the M folder as a separate property. And so in the media map, you're just specifying the path relative to that server address that you want it to point to.
Yeah, it's here. It's one of these, isn't it? URL base.
Oh, yeah, it's the base. That's right.
So where is that? I mean, here, well, no. Maybe, is it relative to the website?
It is relative to the domain name, yeah.
Because M and GOA are on the same.
Yeah, maybe it's in one of the, I don't know. It's got to be someplace.
Sure, URL base. I wonder if that's, oh, you know what? That might be,
May have been moved, huh?
well, it may be in the preferences.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see, generation.
Well, it is
Well,
specified someplace
yeah,
in both ALWB and in Voxa, it's specified.
yeah.
So
I know it works now.
that means like in Voxa right now, the media doesn't have to be on the same server as the generated website.
Right. Well, I mean, this used to be, for example, this line here used to be the base, but we don't use the base. That was one of those 5 lines. You know, URL base was one of the 5 lines. And yeah, I don't know where that is now. URL path or the, I don't see it. I don't know where that is. Anyway, so this is the URL information, the path, excuse me, the path information. And so that's how we register all the media that's in the that's here in the M folder. So somewhere, everything that's in these folders has 2 lines of, you know, identifying material in this media map, which is why the whole file is 25,350 lines. It also includes audio. So let's see. Now let's look at a template to see how that relates. So now we're going to open. So now here we're in the Vespers blocks, and we're going to the Octoicos. And let's just say we wanted the all of the resurrectional stikira. So here it is. So what we saw on the web page where it says, all right. All right, I'm showing you the DCS. It's a Saturday night, Saturday evening Vespers. And we want to see how we get, excuse me, this much. All right. And I'll just show it in English. How do we get this much? Sorry. Resurrectional stikira, the mode, the name of the number of the stikiran, the media links, the verse, the hymn itself, and the version indicator, which in this case is Holy Cross. So it is here. Let's look at the template. Now I'm going to unshare this and go to. All right. It would help maybe if you opened a DCS on your thing and open it to March 4th, Saturday, March 4th of this year, and scroll down to Vespers. And then down to Lord, I've cried. When you're there, tell me if you're there.
Okay, I'm there.
Okay, all right. So you where it says, Lord, I've cried, let my prayer, and then it says, resurrectional stikira, mode plagal 1, stikiron 1. Do you see that? All right.
Correct.
We're gonna see in the template where that came from. That whole okay. So now I'm on the ALWB, and that line 3133. It's a title, and it says here stikira Anastasima, resurrectional stikira. That's resurrectional stikira, and the mode. Well, it's a RID. Okay, that means it's not going to show up here, but it's a relative ID. It's doing the calculation, and that particular night, it's mode plagal first, and that's why it's going to appear there. All right. Then we have the next line. It says title source, and the source is Oktoikos, and that's the gray letters right above where it says from Oktoikos. That's where that comes from. Do you see that? Nod if you see it.
No.
Just scroll up like just a little bit, and right above.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong thing. But could you repeat what I need to look for again? I'm sorry.
Look for the gray words from Oktoikos.
Oh, correct. Yes, yeah.
Okay, that's this line in the template. It's gray because it's got source 0 is one of the styles in the style sheet, so that's a class. It means gray, small, whatever. And then, Oktoikos. The next thing we're looking at is the title, sticker-on number 1. You see that? And it's using role or style designation. There's in the style sheet that role is connected, so it's a class.
Okay.
And then we have a line that says media. And this is going to create the media links. Media, and it's saying RID, relative ID, and the key of the first sticker-on. So it means figure out, is it mode 1, mode 2, mode 3, it's mode number 5, plagal the first. That's what it's going to figure out. Figure out that it's on Saturday evening. And then it's going to run over to the media map. And it's going to try to find that key on that mode, on that day. All that information is calculated by the algorithm, and it should end up here. Not here, here. At least here, this much. Okay, understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's what media is doing that. And then it will also perform all these other things. In other words, insofar it has this key, which means all of these lines here, it will produce 2 well, this is mode 1. We want mode 5. Okay. So mode 5. All right. Mode 5 in this particular sticker-on 1 actually has 3 entries. Each entry has 2 lines. Okay. There is the Western notation link. This is the Byzantine notation link. And this is the audio link. And if you click on each one of those, you should see the number C1241. And then you should see that string that's next to it. That should be on the drop down on whichever of the links. And that's where that information comes from. Do you see that? Okay, good. And then we insert the verse, bring my soul out of prison. And that's this verse here, this line here. And then the hymn itself, by your precious cross. And that's here. Now let's look at that line that says hymn. Hymn, rid, it's got the key that we want, and then it's got some other things. All right, so because it's a rid, relative ID, it's going to calculate the mode of the week and the day. And then, you know, it's going to go find it both in the Aries file, and it's going to go find it in the media map as well. Notice that this key, the key of the hymn, is the same as the key, you know, of the media. Both of them are rids, so there should be, you know, identity. In other words, that hymn and that score or that media associated with that hymn. Now this at ver, that means please display the version of the text, and that's the little blue in brackets that you see, HC or SAS or SD. That you know, it's short for copyright Holy Cross, you know, or copyright Seraphim or whatever, and that corresponds with information in the about page, you know, of who owns that text. And that if we were to, you know, delete ver, then it would not show up, you know, in the text. And then we see media off. What does that mean? So this is going to be a difference between ALWB and Doxa. In ALWB, I asked Michael early on that whenever we use the object hymn, that automatically right above it would be the media links, because presumably every hymn would have, if there are media links, you know, it would right up, without stating it, without declaring it, the program would take that key and go look in the media map, and if it was registered, it would place those media icons and links right above the text of the hymn. I asked him to do that by default. And that if I didn't want that to happen for some reason, I could, you know, force the media off so that wouldn't happen. And that's what media off does here. So if you look at the DCS now, you notice that the media links do not appear right above by your precious cross, but they appear above the verse. Bring my soul out of prison. Because when you open the score, it's going to have the verse. You know, it just makes more sense that you click on the media before the verse, right? So in order to do that, that's why we put the media links above the psalm verse. But in order for that to not be twice, to not show the media links twice, we had to turn off the media here. And then after several years, I found that, you know, I'm doing a lot of that. I'm wishing to place the links, you know, at a specific place that is not the default place right above the hymn. And so Michael decided that in Doxa, it would not default put. In order to put media links, you have to explicitly put media links. So this media off will not be around anymore, but media on is going to be like wherever we want it to be. And I don't know how he's going to do that.
Well, it's it's just a media tag, just like this, and it can appear.
Yeah, I know, but how you're going to go through. Yeah, but I don't know how you're going to convert the templates. Because in some
well, that's
places,
a good question. I'll make a to-do to make sure, take a look at how that's being converted, since that's what I'm working on right now. So
Okay, I mean, because if you want me to, if you wanted me to, I could do some of that and just put them explicit, and then they would just, that would be,
Oh, okay. Well, let me see what I'm doing. Okay.
okay, all right. Okay, so that's template. Now, that's how we invoke the media map. And we looked at the media map. We saw what the media map does. It has the information that links to the files that are in the media M folder on the server. Did we cover everything on that topic? It'll be a little different in Voxa, but this is the logic. This is the logic of it.
Father Seraphim,
Yes.
would you mind just navigating to the other Aries file oc.m1.d1? Okay, I just wanted to take a quick screenshot as reference in my notes. That's it. Thanks.
All right. Anything else? We're at an hour, so.
I think we covered everything.
Yeah, let me see it says media links subject to RIDs and SIDs, media map, key name with MMO. Okay, well, what should we, there's one more thing about media, and I don't know if we have time now to do it, or should we save it for the next time?
Or it's up to Jesse.
I probably have about 5 more minutes.
Okay. There are texts. There are times when we want to reference a score that is not associated with a key in the. So here we have this key for sticky round 1, right? OCVE sticky round 1. So any score or media that's associated with that should only be sticky round 1 and not a bunch of them. Okay.